What up, Talkin Fight fans? Thanks for tuning in to this special episode of Knuckle Up. It is Sunday. It is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have one of our own in the hot seat today. None other than our man, David Rajuili. Wow, this is going to be a good one because you're not going to be asking the questions this time. It's going to be excellent.
Yeah, Mike. Firstly, thanks all for having me on your show, brother. I've watched some of your shows, and yeah, man, I'm very excited to sit in the seat and get the questions from you, and to be finally answering the questions and not asking the questions. You know, so I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be great. We're going to have a good time. All the fans out there, they do watch your show. They know you. You're on the channel. You're one of the members of the team. You're part of the brotherhood. Yes. Yeah, and today we get to talk to you in this special episode. You got a fight coming up in a couple of weeks. You said April 1st. Yes, it's not a joke, people.
Yes, not a 1st of April. I'm back in the Netherlands, and hopefully back to winning ways and get the career back onto fighting ways.
Definitely. So, David, for all the people out there that don't know you,
yes,
we want to start at the beginning. We want to start right at the beginning, brother. What age was it when you first picked up that pair of boxing gloves?
Okay, so I started boxing at the early age of around 8, 9 years old. I was born in South Africa. In the southwestern township known as Soweto. Mm-hmm. Then after the apartheid, had a great job, residence office. We moved over to the suburbs. From there, I was very privileged enough to grow up in good schools, around good people. I lived in the south of Johannesburg.
Okay.
In the south of Johannesburg is a place where boxing and fighting is really, it's known, It's like, I'm sure in the States there, the kids are surrounded by the gangsters and stuff like this, where we were surrounded by fighters and boxers, This one's father is a boxer, that one's father is a boxer. He's scared of that one because he's a boxer, and so I was brought up around that kind of an environment, Right. And I still remember my first time I started boxing. Firstly, my mom made me watch the Brian Mitchell documentary.
Okay.
Now, Brian Mitchell is like the South African Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
He was my first guest on my show, and he's an inductee in the Hall of Fame in America. They inducted him into the Hall of Fame. He was known as the World Road Warrior. And I still remember this day very clearly. My mom came up to me and she said, I should watch this documentary on Blow by Blow, Brian Mitchell, about a white South African boxer who went out there and conquered the world. Even during apartheid times in South Africa, where not a lot of South Africans were allowed to participate in sports.
Right.
And we were not allowed as South Africans to go out and support our fellow South Africans. So he was alone, and he went to the States and he had great fights. He actually defended his title the most times, I think, speaking under correction, 13, 14 times, his WBA lightweight title. And he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I remember why my mom actually showed me that day, It took years to say, why was it Brian Mitchell, I was a naughty little kid at school, always fighting with the guys. And, my mom was in the president's office, so I always had a big mouth about this and that. And I always used to get into fights on the streets and all. And I think my mom was showing me that, in life, whatever you put your heart to or whatever you want to do, no matter what, because, I was a naughty guy. Uh-huh. And my teachers would always say, oh, you'll amount to nothing or this and that. And it was watching Brian Mitchell just showed me that, no matter what, no matter the circumstances that you are surrounded by,
Mhm.
if you have a dream and a passion, no matter where you are in the world, you can accomplish it.
Right.
You don't need so many. You don't need 1,000 people behind you. If you're really hungry about something and you really want something, it you can get it.
Right.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I watched that day, and I still remember the following day. I went to another guest of mine, Anton Gilmore. He had a gym up the road. We went to his gym, and I walked in there, and I was like, I looked at the boxing bags, and I remember Anton looked at me, and he taught me to throw my first jab, and I threw a jab, and he looked at me and he said, "You know what? You are something special." Uh, he said to me, "I'll be a champion," and in my mind, I was like, "Nah, I'm not here to be champion, but I like that feeling of hitting the bag.
Yeah.
And from there, I was just glued to watching a lot of the Brian Mitchell fights. My amateur career started. I was training under Anton Gilmore for a year or two. Uh, After that, my mom got sick. She passed on. From there, I moved on to fight, moved gyms to fight for another gym, Lovett's Boxing Gym. And that's where really my amateur career kicked off.
Right.
Uh, a lot happened at that time. I was still young, 13, 14. I lost my mom. A lot of things, crazy things were happening. And I found this family, the Lovett's family, and they took me in as their own. A lot of people would call me an orphan, but this family had a little gym in like you can say, in the hood
Right.
of the South, very rundown place. They built this gym for the community, for the kids that don't have money to pay for monthly fees or whatever. And they just wanted to teach the guys.
Just to
So
keep
I
him out of the
joined.
streets, right? To kind of keep that
Yes, yes,
streets.
taking off the kids in the streets and stuff
Right.
like that. And this is where I joined this gym. And I also lived with them for a couple of years. And that's where my amateur boxing career was at with the Lovitz. And they taught me a lot about fighting, about being a fighter, a warrior. And I was in the amateurs for about 8 years. I had 30 amateur fights. In that 30, I lost about three. Uh, Along the way, it was rough. As I said, not living at home, living with friends and stuff like that. You tend to get involved with some nonsense on the
Right.
side and
Right.
do things here, do things there. So I missed out a lot on like championships and amateur championships. But a lot of the coaches would say to me, you can be a champion. We see you. They would say you can beat the likes of in amateurs, Hecky Butler and stuff like this. And I never really took that in. Like I was just like, ugh, no, because my mind wasn't set on being a champion. It
Right.
was for me, as I said in the beginning, we grew up with all these guys that were boxers and stuff like that. So being a boxer was like even a cool thing to be.
Right.
So, and I loved fighting. It was my one way of getting out of prison, really. Because
Yeah.
as I say, I was involved a lot of with a lot of nonsense in the
Yeah.
streets and stuff, where I would be in court cases, running on trial, cops after us and stuff like this. And there was a point where I actually sat, and you could tell I was part of a gang, and all these guys had their families. We were all sitting for trial, and they had their families, moms and dads and lawyers. And I looked around, and I was sitting by myself, and I was like, you know what? Hey, I'm wasting my time here because now I'm always jumping in for the homies. I'm
Yeah.
always fighting for the homies, but I have no one here to actually help me, you know?
Right. Right.
And I prayed and I said, God, please, I need to get out of this situation. I need to stop this
Right.
now for a greater purpose. And I think after I left that trial and we left, and you know, my whole mind changed. My whole mindset changed. You know, and I was like, I'd rather get paid
Yeah.
and fight because I love fighting. I would rather give the fans a good fight. Like, as I say, I used to watch Brian Mitchell, a 2-year Gaddy. Still to this day, I watch the Gaddy fights. I watch Johnny Tapia and stuff.
Yeah.
And I look at these fights and I'm like, you know, I was telling my wife the other day, this is why I started boxing, is because the people on their seats. And this is what I wanted to do. Like, you know, when I said, okay, no more street fighting, I want to put fans to say, damn, did you see Rajuili fight? Win
Right.
or lose, did you see that guy
Right.
swing? Did you see that fight? You
There's
know?
nothing more addictive than the cheer of the crowd.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's
You know,
almost like a drug in itself to hear it, and it's like
just to
you
hear.
crave.
And
Yeah.
even, you know, I've lost some fights and people come to me and they're like, wow, bro, that fight was amazing, you know? And that for me was the whole, like, starting of even my pro career. I was like, you know what, bro? The streets, I'm not making money on the streets. I'm not hearing the crowd. Let me go into the pros, make
Right.
some cash a little bit, feed myself, and give the people fights. Let me be remembered for good fights, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, and the pro career kicked off. My pro career as well, it kicked off pretty tough. I was sent from gym to gym. I have families that have taken care of me since, like, my mom died. They were phoning this people, please give David a chance, please give David a chance. And I went everywhere in South Africa, from the Golden Glove stable to this stable to that stable, just trying to fit in with
Right.
all these big guys. I'm just there trying to fight, you know. And as I was about to give up, uh, she's still like my mentor now. Anna, I was actually working as her secretary half day, going to training in the morning and then coming to do office job as a secretary. And
Right.
I came home the one day and I was like, you know what, I'm training here. I've got my pro license for 2 years. No one's giving me a chance. I'm giving this up. And she said, you'll never, ever, ever give up. You know, quitting is not an option. This is something that stuck in my heart as well for since she said that. And she found a boxing gym for me in the East Rand of Johannesburg.
Okay.
And I went there and yeah, that's where it all started for me, you know.
That's an amazing story, David. That's like a lot of people don't understand how like how dangerous that part of the world is, right? Like
Yeah,
the gangs and all that, and poverty, and a lot of things. And to see these youth get into this, and like yourself, get out of that lifestyle and find boxing to help you move along is just an amazing thing. And
100%. You know, you hear stories of how boxing changed people's lives.
yeah.
I'll be a testimony to that. Boxing has changed my life in the craziest of ways. Like I say, you know, it just takes that moment to say, you know, I'm so good with my hands. To even pray, say, God, please, just, I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm going there. I'm going to go train. I'm going to try my hardest, you know,
Right.
and, you know, things start happening. Doors start opening. Opportunities start happening. You know, you start living a clean life.
Right.
Your mind is no more clouded by, I won't swear, but by crap.
Yeah.
And it's more, you start seeing more of, you know,
Start
your
seeing
purpose.
more clear,
Yes, more
more.
clear and all of
Right.
that.
Start
And
seeing
it's
like a
true.
path to the light kind of thing. Like
Yes, yes.
you know what to
And
do now. You can see the pathway to do it, and then
yes,
you start doing it, and you start benefiting from it. It's
100%, 100%. And you know, I had quite an interesting pro career because I started off. I won, I think, my first 3 fights, and I lost my fourth fight. And funny enough, losing my fourth fight, I got offered a South African title. Because I was an exciting fighter, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I am. I think I had 6 fights. I had 2 losses, and we got a phone call to say, David, we want you to fight for the SA title. And I only have done 4 rounds, four. No, it was four rounds, 1 6-rounder. And I was like, Coach, what do you mean? And they said, yeah, the promoter wants you to come and fight for the SA title. And I was fighting a guy called Jasper Saruki at the
That was
time.
back in 2015, right?
Yes, for Jasper Saruki, and he
Yeah.
was a veteran. He had lost, I think, twice to Malcolm Clausen at the time.
Mhm.
He was ranked in the top 40 in the world by BoxRec. I looked at my ranking at the time. I still remember he's finding out how BoxRec works, and you're like, what? You are 600 and something out of, and I'm like, at least I'm in the top 1,000.
Yeah, and you know what? You still are now. You're in the top 1,000 in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're ranked 776.
Yeah, something. I'm still in the top 1,000,
2,300.
bro.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You're
always said to myself, with those rankings, like I'm saying, even when I fought for the first ASA, my first title, I was like, yo, this guy's in the top 40. I'm in the top 1,000. But there's 10,000 people out there. So 1,000 is somewhere.
But like the rumors did say there were rumors going around you. He's better than his record suggests. I know that, and I know sometimes records can be deceiving.
Yes.
You got to look out for him because you upset people.
Yes. And
You
that
come,
was and
you
that
come
was
in and
the
upset. You come in and upset people.
honestly, that was the mind of that was my coach's mind, Hardy. When he took me to that fight, I was like, Coach, I haven't even done an 8-round or a 10-round. He said, no, my boy, you always fit. You fight. He used to call me a horse. He says, you like a horse. I watch you like a horse. When you go, and you just go, and you can upset this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. What? I didn't even know, like, okay, let's go. So I just trained hard. We trained hard. I'll never forget that. First title fight. We went 11 rounds. And even after that fight, his promoter, the coach came. He was like, bro, we thought we're stopping you in 6 rounds. Unbelievable. And I took that fight. I was like, you know what? I'm made for this. When they came to speak to me after that fight, I'll never forget. I was like, I looked at my coach and I said, you know what? I'm made for this. Let's do this. Now I know I can stand with Oaks, veterans of the sport, and I can go. Yes, I didn't do the whole 12 rounds. I went 11 rounds, but I fought with this.
Yeah.
And it showed me that, you know what, Dave, you got some fight in you,
Yeah.
And even then, titles were not in the mind. It was just about, I can fight these guys. I can fight. And funny enough, after that fight, a lot of people saw the fight. It was in South Africa. It was on TV and all. And there the phone starts to ring, A lot of guys want you on their shows. The WBF had their convention in Slovenia. And in 2017, that's where we got a call from the president of the WBF, Mr. Howard Gold. He said, listen, we hear there's this guy, David Rajuili. We want him here. We've got a title shot for him, And even with that, you hear, wow, international title. First time. Now, this is where boxing changes your life.
Yeah.
Growing up, I used to always, even when I lived in the hood and shit, I used to run in the mornings. I was telling one of the amateur guys the other day, I used to do the whole Rocky thing where you crack an egg in the glass, you gulp it.
Old school
Yes.
ways. Yeah.
In the winter there in South Africa, my mom used to say, used to be proud of me to do this. She was sick at the time, and I used to go gloom, gloom, and I used to run, And finally, I used to run past Jasper Shiruke before even we fought, We used to see each other on the roads running 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I used to shadow box in my garden. I made, we have rice, rice.
Yep.
I made a boxing bag out of a rice bag, hang it there. And I used to go and I used to be like, I can do this. And I used to say, God, please, I used to look at the sky, and I say, one day I want to fight out there, and I used to point up
Yeah.
because you're little.
Right.
It's like the world is round. So I used to say, I
Exactly.
want to fight out there. I want to fight out there. And this is where it was amazing. Hardy says, yo, Dave, I got a call from the president of the WBF. They want you to come to Slovenia. And I was like, yo, Slovenia, coach, isn't that Europe? He said, yeah. And I was like, yo, 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 yo. I was so happy. And he's like, yeah, you're fighting a guy from Georgia. He's got quite a record. But you, my boy, you're always fit. You got a heart. You can beat him. That's all the coach used to always say to me.
That was his pep talk for you, eh? You can do it. You can
Yes.
do it. You got it.
He's like, we're going. He's like, I know you're always fit. You got a heart. You fight. We're going. You're going to stop this guy, my boy. I said, okay, coach. And we got sponsors involved. Even that fight, let's see, there was no purses involved. It was a thing of fighting for the title, once in a lifetime opportunity. Fighting for a title, WBF International. It was my first one in the super featherweight division. Went over to Slovenia, and wow, what a night.
What an experience.
Yeah, even they wrote about it. There's a whole article. I was the fight of the night. I had the people on their feet. I was doing my boxing moves. It was amazing. It was one of those days that, it's something I'll always tell my kids, because it was the reason I wanted to go into pros, is to have people on their feet. Now, I was in Slovenia. I was like the only African person there.
Yeah.
And I had all these people on their feet going, wow. Ooh. And I was like, I felt like a Turio Gaddy versus Ward, just moving my head. And, it was amazing. And I won the fight, unanimous decision. And I won my first title. And just holding that title, the WBF International, for me, it was, I didn't, till this day, it doesn't matter, WBC, WBF, WBO.
Yeah.
I believe you work hard, you get rewarded, and this was my reward for never giving up, for always pushing for what I believed in. I had someone next to me who believed in me. You can put the biggest oak in front of me, that coach would say, David, you would beat him. He just believed in me so much,
That's good. It's motivation like that you need, though, sometimes, right? And it's just, he's pushing you because he knows you won't push yourself that hard, right? So he's like, get out there and do it. David, what, for all the fans out there, like, they might not know how big the boxing community is in South Africa. Can you elaborate on how the community is? Is there a lot of gyms? There are a lot of fighters.
Yeah,
how does the structure work?
South Africa's got a lot of talent, a lot of boxing gyms. We have 100%, a lot of boxing gyms, very good trainers. We've got a lot of talent. The only thing with South Africa, it's just the economy state. So it's difficult to be a WBC champion or a champion in these 5 big organizations because of sanctioning fees and so forth.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know that when you fight for the belts, there's a 3% sanctioning fee, up to $300,000 depending on the size of the purse, right? So you're fighting for multiple belts, that gets kind of costly, right?
Yes, and in South Africa, it's very difficult for the fighters, especially if they don't have sponsors and stuff like this, to get them such fights. But the community, it's big. We've got some of the best fighters in the world, actually, I think another guy just got awarded Best Fights of the Year from the IBF for winning on Matchroom last year. We've got so many, we got WBC silver champions. We've got a lot of IBO. The
Mhm.
IBO is a lot in South Africa.
Okay.
They work a lot with Rodney Berman from Golden Gloves. So, you get good promoters, big promoters like Rodney Berman that gets his fighters out there. We have the likes of Kevin Lerena.
Mhm.
He fought Daniel Bios the last time in Tottenham
Okay. Yeah.
for the heavyweight WBA title. We have, yes, Kevin Lerena. He's fighting now for the, I think, a WBC elimination fight in the
Okay.
heavyweights.
Yeah.
So we have all of that. It's just, it's like we also have Hickey Butler. Hickey Butler's got the Ring magazine. He's got most of the titles.
Yeah.
Just, he cannot really fight, defend them at home
Right.
because it's paying sanctioning fees, it's paying opponents, and you paying. It goes in rands, in South African rands. It shoots up into the millions. Yeah. That's the exchange rate, the South African
Wow.
exchange rate.
Wow.
So this is what makes it hard for South Africans.
Yeah.
But the guys don't give up. The guys are still out there. The guys are still hungry. South Africa it's a kind of country like Cuba. When you get a fighter, they're not fighting ready for the big they fight to feed themselves and their families and stuff like this. This is where you find that raw talent, that hungriness,
That's exactly what I profile on my show. Those young, hungry, undefeated, undiscovered raw talents that, don't get the same opportunities that, those blue chip prospects get. But you know what? They can be on the same caliber in fighting style. And it sucks that a lot of fighters go unnoticed like that around the world.
Yeah.
Just
It's
opportunity, right?
it's very true, eh? And I learned this from also being in the pros, from my coach Hardy. And he told me, he said, David, if you look in the world, like in America and stuff, all these fighters, they really market themselves and stuff like this. So when I looked back and I was like, you know what, I'm not a Muhammad Ali, I'm not Mike Tyson, I'm not the face of boxing in South Africa. But you know what? I'm gonna market the hell out of myself. I'm gonna make T-shirts. I'm gonna go on social media like I am the greatest of the greatest fighters. And that's what I did. And doing that honestly got me the attention of promoters, of people, just putting myself out there, and some of these guys don't have those tools. Like I said, I was very privileged to go to white schools, you could say, and be around these people and speak like the way I do. Because my mom took us to very good schools, But some of these guys don't have this, especially in South Africa. They're in the townships, they're in rural areas and stuff. They got big talent, but they can't put two sentences together, or they don't have the abilities to, or the laptops and all of that to market themselves and to get themselves out there. And they're sitting there with 20-0 records, 15-0s. They just can't get themselves out there. Also, with their managers, a manager for us is the scariest person in South, because a manager is someone you should trust, someone that should manage your career. But being in a place like that where unemployment is close to 50%, the manager is out there to also get his own,
Exactly.
And then that's where the snake and the foxes and stuff come in,
Which
and
boxing
it
is
hurts this.
Yes, it hurts the sport. There's always been that, and all over the world, not just in South Africa, but
yes.
the States, Germany, China, Japan, like all these places. What do you think? What do you think is the biggest thing that needs to change to help South Africa move forward as a boxing entity?
I think what needs to change is, in my opinion, I think the world, the organizations should throw more shows in South Africa, allow that talent to be seen, instead of saying, okay, stripping the fighters or making it difficult for the fighters to fight and stuff, to give that chance, to say, okay, we have a number 3 ranked or number 2 ranked South African fighter. Let's go to South Africa. Let's throw these events there. Let the people, let us as the organizations, WBC, WBO, WBA, let's help the promoters in South Africa showcase their talent, even if it means not doing free shows, obviously not, but giving the chance to say, okay, we will come and do the show there. We will bring our champion to defend his title against a contender from there,
Right.
I think that will help a lot because that will even bring big fights to the country.
Yeah, which will again generate revenue for the country, right? So
100%. And this is what I really, really think would help South African fighters to get out there. I'm out here in Germany at the moment. I thought, let me come out here to the greener side of life. It's not really. I find it harder in this side of the world.
Really?
It's actually crazy. Yeah, it's harder for me to get fights now than I was in South Africa. In South Africa, I was you could say, every province I went, moved around quite often. I was the golden boy.
Yeah, they know you.
Everyone wanted to see David fight.
Yeah, you were the blue chip prospect back there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had even one of my guests, Steve Kodakoda. He was on my show. He was my promoter. When he said, "David, you're fighting," he would give me 300-400 tickets, and guess what? 300-400 tickets were gone.
Gone.
I had people come in there, I would be on the radio, I'd be on the TV, I'd be in the newspapers. Rajuili's back in action, Rajuili's fighting. We would sell out events, and I would do this because I love people there cheering, showing people good fights and stuff.
Right.
Over here, it's a bit difficult for me after the corona and all of this. But I don't give up. I keep pushing. I keep the fire going. I was close, but I keep the fire really, really burning.
That's good.
But I was telling you about this my fights.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Let's go back to the fight.
Before we talk about the fight, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've faced today in your career so far?
The biggest challenges I faced today?
Yeah, the biggest challenge that you faced today is,
I would say, getting a promoter to give me a fight. Getting promoted as a South African. My biggest challenge right now as a South African out here in Europe is getting a promoter to put me on one of his cards, to give me a shot and to fight like a nice big fight.
Is it because you're dangerous and it's like there's a lot of risk putting you up against somebody that
I think so. My ring name is the Dangerous
right?
Darky. That's actually my ring name.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
No way. Because I was going to ask you what your alias was. I was going to ask you what your alias was, what they call you. Wow, that's wow.
Yeah, I got that when I was, I think I was fighting for the IBF Continental title, and Anton Gilmore was like, "You know what, Dave? You're so dangerous, my man. We're going to call you the Dangerous Darky."
I love it. That's sick. Besides Brian Mitchell, he's a big influence in your life and one of the reasons why you got into boxing. Who else who played a big part in influencing you to go pro and really follow?
There's a lady called Anna Barotti. She's on her right foot now. And yes, she's been my backbone since like my mom died and stuff. She taught me the quote of quitting is never an option. There were times when I wanted to quit with the boxing especially,
right?
Where I saw nothing is happening. Training with the big guys, training with the best of the best in South Africa, being with the best managers, being with Golden Gloves and stuff, just not getting that shot. And I was just like, I'm over this.
Right.
And she said, no, 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 no. You haven't even started. How can you say you're over it?
She's that
And
little. She's that little voice that
yes,
your ear is standing on your shoulder.
yes. Even like a few weeks ago, before I got this fight, I was like, yeah, no, even now, a few weeks ago, she phoned me. She's like, so you're fighting? And I said, yeah, it's going to be my last fight. And she's like, get out of here. Like, get
Yeah,
out of here, that last fight
you,
story.
yeah, it's not going to be your last fight. You love it too much.
She's
So
like, get out of here, man.
you have a
But
fight. You have a
yeah,
fight
she's
coming
been
up.
a big influence in my life to keep going, to never
Yeah.
giving up. She was there when I won my African title fight, and just to watch her ringside, she had tears in her eyes. Also brought tears in my eyes. She was my first sponsor. She made sure I'm in the boxing gyms, even paid me a salary just to make sure I'm at boxing. I come to work. I worked for her for a little bit in the office for like 5 hours. I'd pass out after training. And she just kept me in
Busy.
this boxing, yes, in this boxing circle, because it's also one of those people that really, 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 when you have someone who really believes in you,
Yeah.
who sees, and just they will, no matter what people will say or whatever happens along the line, they will always, always still believe in you. She's one of those people, and I'm very grateful to have her in my life, and yeah, she really kept me going. And also, my wife as well. My wife I have now, she's been like my backbone since we've met for the past 5 years. She's been my manager. She's been my PR
Did
till
she?
this day.
Did she meet you watching you fight? Is that what happened? She came.
No,
She
no,
came
no,
and
no,
watched you
no, no.
fight.
So we met when I was signed to go fight box in the UK,
Yeah.
and I had to change visas and all of this. And we met actually when I went back to South Africa to get my visa to go to the UK, and I needed to train somewhere. And I walked into this gym, and there she was. She was boxing, preparing for her first amateur fight. And the
Okay.
coach was like, "Hey, do you want to train this chick?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And that's how I met her,
That's and
training her
that's
for
what
her
this.
first
That's the
fight.
whole story. And now 5 years later, you're here now.
Yeah, and
You,
5 years later, I actually trained her now for. She had a fight last year, another amateur fight here in Germany, and I trained her for that. So that's how we met through
that's
boxing. That's
that's
why I say boxing for me has been a big, 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 big life changer. It's changed my life in the most hectic ways. Can we go for a 10-second break? I need
yeah.
to
Yeah.
charge my phone quickly. I mean, put a
Please
charger
do.
on
Please
the.
do. Please do. I'm going to
Okay.
explain to people who Brian Mitchell is.
Okay, lovely. Yeah.
Yes, definitely, guys. I just want to let you know. Yeah, Brian Mitchell, uh, South African, former professional boxer who competed from 1981 to 1985 and held the WBA super featherweight title from 1986 to 1991, the ring super feather title from 1986 to 1988, and the IBF super feather title from 91 to 92. He began his career in late 1981, winning his first 3 fights on points over 4 rounds in less than 2 months. By the end of November, he had won 5 times, defeating Simon Zondo and I'm going to say Moses Mathin on 4th-round knockouts. He began 1982 with a 2-round KO, but then suffered a setback, losing over 10 rounds to an opponent. It would prove to be the only loss of his career and left Mitchell's record at 6 wins and 1 defeat. This is the beginning. Fast forward, turn it up. The man total fights 49, 45 wins, 21 of those wins coming by KO, losses 1, draws 3. Highly decorated boxer here. In September, in September, he was given a crack at Alfredo Lane's World Junior Lightweight title in Sun City, South Africa. Mitchell seized his chance, dropping the Panamanian champion 3 times in the 10th round to win the title by knockout. He next traveled to San Juan to tackle Jose Rivera. And after a tough battle emerged with a draw over 15 rounds less than 2 months later. So, yes, there's a bit of a glimpse into who he is. Definitely a huge influence in David Rajuili's life. To see somebody from the same country, poor, lots of gang violence, and be able to emerge and become this, world-known boxer, and have a wonderful record of, 45 wins, 1 loss, and 3 draws. That's not
outside of South Africa. Like we used to call him the mincing machine. He's got an amazing story, eh?
When I was telling the people out here, like, he does have a great story, and to see somebody, that's what I mean. It's got to be. It was a huge influence in you doing what you do now. To see somebody from the same parts of the world and succeed so much and accomplish so much, definitely is a tool that helps you do what you do now.
Yes, 100%.
Honestly, okay, I got a great question here for you.
Yes.
Do you remember the feeling you got the first time you put somebody to sleep with your hands?
That was I'll be honest, that was in the streets.
Okay. Wherever it was.
In boxing, I've never been a power puncher.
Right.
I've never knocked anyone out, but I have stopped an opponent. And this one was one of the best.
You're very your volume. You like to let your hand slide.
Yes. Yeah. And when I fought this guy, Monet Botma, he was coming into the fight. He was like a 6-time, 7-time South African amateur champion with over 300 amateur fights. So also with Hardy, he was like, "You're gonna beat this guy." We drove up to Johannesburg from Durban, and this was one of the highlights of my pro career. I was a co-main event on Anton Gilmore's show, and it was me versus Monet Botma, and I stopped him in round 3. And this feeling was one of the greatest feelings I ever had. I even ran around the ring. I was like, because I was an underdog. Here I was probably 100-1. Everyone thought, okay, here David is getting the biggest hiding. He's fighting one of the best fighters to come out of the amateurs in South Africa. He was training with like Hickey Butler and stuff. He had won 6 to 7 SA national amateur titles. He was unbeaten in the amateurs. He was great, so I was just his stepping stone. And I was coming from another province, and everyone was like, okay, this is going to be a fight of the night, and this is where David gets a hiding. And it was the other way around. I get the hiding, and I stopped the guy. It was so weird because when I saw that towel fly in, it's the best feeling in the world, And it's amazing. But I think this time round,
you got a fight coming up. Yeah. April the 1st.
I think April 1st. What's going to happen is, at the moment, I'm weighing 140, and I'm hitting like a middleweight.
Oh.
A super middleweight. Okay. So I foresee a stoppage. You can never underestimate your opponent.
That's true. One punch can change.
I know he's coming to fight. I've actually trained with him when I was in Holland. I've trained actually all over the place. So I used to train in Holland for a while, and he was my sparring partner. We sparred for like 3 months, and he brought it. He's a fully fledged super welterweight.
Yeah.
So you know how they do it in boxing? These guys walk around at 72 kgs, 70 kgs. They drop 8 kgs just for weight-in.
Yeah,
And then the next day,
they have a sandwich and drink some water. And the next thing you know, they're 8 kg heavier. I know.
I will be fighting a fully fledged super welterweight.
So you're walking around right now at a true 140, like you don't have
No,
to.
I'm, to be honest, with my, that's what I say, with my pro boxing career, it's been crazy. So naturally, if I want to fight super featherweight, that's I can do it like this. You
Okay.
know, if I want to fight lightweight, I can do it like this. But having won the super featherweight title, and then in Cape Town, I won the All Africa WBF title.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, hey, bro, let's go for 3 division champion. I was like, hey, bro, you're doing something right here. The rewards are coming. So let's see if you can get a super lightweight title. And that's when I've past 2-3 years, I just said, okay, let's go into the super lightweights. I stay there. I fight at my training weight. The most I have to drop for weigh-in is 2 kgs. So I train hard at this weight. Then I put on, and then I'm back. It's like I'm training. You understand?
Right.
So
you're always in the gym. It's not like you go and do camp. You're just always ready, right?
Yeah. I'm always ready. I love running. It's one of those things. Even Hardy taught me that. He gave me the mindset of you always have to be ready. If you want to be this fighter like a Tuyo Gaddy and stuff, just always be ready, because they'll phone you and say, hey, is your boy ready? And all I have to do, it's like when I fought for the IBF Intercontinental. I had to get ready in 1 week, but I had to drop down to featherweight. That fight I took at featherweight at 57.
Wow.
And Hardy just said, hey, I got a phone call. You got 1 week to prepare.
You can do it.
You can do it.
You can do everything.
You can do it.
Yeah.
And I promise you, 1 week, we were down to 57 kgs. We still traveled up to the next state, and I went 12 rounds with the guy. Yes, I lost, but I fought also a veteran, a guy that at that time he had lost like 2-3 times, and he had over 30 fights. And I went 12 rounds with him, and I fought for the IBF. So I was like, you know what, bro? For me, I never see it. I always see it as you win or you learn something or you gain something.
I love that. I love that you said that. You either win or you learn. It's not a loss. It's a lesson, right?
It's a lesson. Or you even gain. You gain recognition. You gain sponsorships. You gain a new fan. You gain a promoter phoning you. You gain something. So, yes, on paper, it's a loss. And even now, I look at my box record, 22 fights, 11 wins, 12 wins, 11 losses, whatever. And I say, you know what? You look at that box record, some of these guys sitting with 20-0 and stuff haven't been through what I've been through. Haven't been through these fights, haven't fought such warriors, haven't,
There's a lot of padded records these days. There's a lot of records. There's a lot of records that are bought. The promoters are putting them in there with guys that they know 100% they're going to beat. So, you see a lot of guys nowadays that, they might have 10 or 20 wins, no losses. But when you look at
at who they fought.
Yeah, look at the caliber of opponents. Then, you know what I mean? That's when you really know what's going on. You really have to check.
We learned in amateur. Let me tell you what we learned in amateur, and that's why I think South African boxing is it's beautiful, because it's rough, and the guys are doing it for the love and for the hunger to feed their families. So we were taught in amateurs, if you go and you fight someone, let's say like they do it here in Europe, and they do it all over. They take someone with 100 losses, 1 win, and they put him against a guy 15-0 or something. 100 losses, a journeyman.
Yeah.
That's not even a journeyman.
That's a
That's an
tomato can.
adventurer, man.
What do they call? They call them tomato cans.
Yeah, that's like I don't know what that is, but
You know,
you find a lot of this.
without those guys, though, we wouldn't
They
have
find
boxing.
these guys
These
with
guys,
fights like that, putting it against a prospect, okay?
yeah,
But what happens to the prospect when the prospect's time now comes to fight a homie with 20-0 who's in the top 10?
yeah,
Now the homie can bang.
yeah,
This prospect is sitting with 15-0 versus someone with 15-0. Now it's time to be a man versus a man. What happens? There goes your prospect's future because
yeah,
he hasn't fought people. You haven't groomed him properly. You haven't made him strong, a man that he knows what's a real fighter in front of him. You
They
know?
see what I find in those situations. There's a lot of times where the guys aren't getting the ring experience because they're getting in there and an opponent that's not up to the caliber. So you train for a 6 or 8 round fight, you end up out there 1 or 2, you're done. What
You're done.
experience are you getting,
Best
right?
experience, yes, 100%. 100%. I
Um,
would rather fight. The best way to learn in this sport is to fight someone better than you
yeah,
because they bring out the best in you. You know, it's like even when you're sparring and you spar someone that's very good, on that sparring day, you'll have the best sparring because now you have to bring your A game up.
yeah,
And you will surprise yourself like, wow, I can do this. And this is what I'm saying. I learned like that. I learned, actually fighting these veterans. I was like, wow, I can do this. I can go the rounds. I can throw. I can do this. I can do that. They taught me, yes, you can do. Yes, you lost, but you learned that you can do this, you can do that. You can fight better fighters.
yeah,
It's not a thing of you look at the record now, you get scared. Oh, no, you say, come with the record.
yeah.
I'm going to try and take that record from you.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right.
And this is the thing with journeyman, and never that's what I learned is never underestimate anybody
No, you can't.
because
One punch can change the entire outcome.
one punch can get 100%. Even the guy I fought for the Africa the title, both the people I fought for my titles have had high records, over 30 fights or 20
Oh yeah.
fights and stuff. And I've always
The
been
last guy you fought for the WBF African Light, he was
yes, Sigu.
8-2. Yeah, Sigu.
Yes.
And yeah, you
Was
fought him
tough.
twice. You fought him
Yes.
twice, right?
No, he was tough, eh? He
Yeah.
was one tough homie. But the first time I fought him, I was brought in to be the opponent.
like a stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
They brought you in to showcase him, and you went.
Yes, and to bring the tickets and to sell
Yeah,
the people. And what did I do? We out jabbed him. We boxed his head off.
yeah,
We went boom, 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 boom. And this what I said was never underestimate your opponent because I was underestimated. And second time round it was all crazy. I was moving to the UK, not going to the UK. Okay, you need to fight. You have to defend or we're stripping you. And I got stripped off my first title because I won it. It was the international WBF. I came back home. I needed to fight, but now they're sanctioning fees. I don't have a manager, I don't have a promoter, I've got nothing. The months are going, and then I got a letter from the WPF to say, listen, we are stripping you. That's the worst feeling to say,
yeah.
damn, you fight for this, you get rewarded, and you don't even have a turn to defend it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So the second time, when they said, okay, listen, you've been in Europe, you're coming back, you need to fight in 30 days, you need to defend your title. I was like, oh, okay, let's go, Sigu. And, I just went. That even if you watch that fight, you can see I was not close to being ready for that fight. But I just wanted to say, okay, let me not get stripped again for another title. That's the worst feeling in boxing.
Yeah.
Is to get stripped. Not even getting stripped for weight, not making weight, or just you don't have a promoter, you don't have the funds, And I was like, okay, let's bang it out, bro. And yeah, he won it, and I'm still on the verge of maybe fighting for a super lightweight title. Obviously, I'm still in touch with the WBF. I have to win 1 or 2 fights, and then I'm back up there in their title contenders,
Yeah.
So, yeah, things are looking bright.
That's good. So,
and I'm excited.
So what you're saying is Dangerous, Mr. Dangerous right here, is going to be busy in 2023.
I'm hoping. Yes, I'm hoping so. I'm in touch with the promoter from South Africa, Mrs. Joyce. They would like me to come to South Africa to come fight at the end of the year. So we're looking at the fight in South Africa. And then, we're going to see what happens now in April. A good win from me here in April. I know the phone will start ringing. But what we are going to try to do is get my hands on a 3-division title, meaning a title in the super lightweight.
Right.
Because of my record, I have one of those records that 1-2 fights, a promoter would say, okay, let's put him up. He is the punching bag against our guy. I have one of those records. So I'm excited for that. I'm very, very, very excited. And it's just about getting through this guy now. I'm fighting in Holland again.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys watched the last fight. A lot of people said won it. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, it was. I honestly thought you won it. I thought you won the last one.
A lot of people said so, but the truth is in boxing. The truth is when you go to someone's home ground, they're already one up. You're not just fighting an opponent; you are fighting the organization.
Right.
So you have to really win. And when I say really win, you have to either knock him out or that towel has to come into the ring.
Yeah, you gotta make the corner submit.
Or you have to knock him out. This is the truth. This is the truth. Even now in South Africa, a lot of the guys are fighting in Russia. The guys are winning, but it's not saying so on paper.
Right.
Right. So it's like that. So I have a job. I know what I'm up against. That's what I keep saying. You're not just fighting an opponent. We have to go in there hard. We have to go in there to stop the guy. Yeah. I've never been a knockout guy, so I'll never say, hey, fans, I'm going to knock him out. But I know I am a pressure guy. I am dangerous.
Yeah.
I have become stronger in the past 2-3 years. I am fighting bigger guys. I am standing with the bigger guys.
Right.
So I'm very confident in myself. My headspace at the moment is out of this world.
Yeah.
Everything around is perfect. My coaching team is perfect. Things are going well. So this is what you need when you go into a fight. I was telling one of the amateurs that we're training with that one thing that's very important in this game is this. No matter how hard you can train, no matter what, if you don't have this on the day of the fight, you have lost.
There's a lot of mental. There's a lot of mental involved.
100%. So with saying that, I'm really, really prepared on weight for 2 weeks now. We're just getting stronger at the weight. We're getting faster.
That's great.
I know what I'm up against. I've sparred the guy. My style has changed. I'm hoping his style has changed. I always want a good fight.
Right.
I always want the person to be as fit as me. I never want to go.
You want to challenge yourself. You don't want to just go in there and.
No. I hate that.
You enjoy the war.
Yes, I want to. Yes, I want to get hit. I want people to go, whoa. I want, if there's cuts happening, I'm like, I feel like the Black Caddy. Just go.
David, on that note, honestly, I want to invite you back for a second part.
Okay.
Honestly, we talked earlier. It was going to be half an hour.
I can see.
We just crushed
going,
it.
bro.
We just crushed an hour. We've only just touched the surface.
Yes.
Just touched the surface. I'd like to get you in one more time so we can continue this conversation before the fight.
Okay, no problem, bro. This would be good.
I don't know if you want to do it at the same time next week, part 2, or if you want to do it before. Let me know.
Yeah, at the same time next week. That would be great. Even I would actually. I'm one of those extreme guys. I would speak to you after the weigh-in.
Yeah,
Sitting in my room, like
no problem. No problem.
I'm actually one of those oaks that would do that. I think. Sorry, I think we're gonna. Oh,
you're gonna stream it, right? You're gonna stream it for the channel.
Yeah, as I was just about to say, I think we are streaming the weigh-in again and the fight.
Excellent.
So even to sit down and chat to you and stuff, I'm one of those oaks that I would chat to you straight off the weigh-in, go into my room,
Excellent.
and we talk. You see how we're doing, what we eat, and or we can do it next week. I'm always happy to talk, bro.
Yeah, we will 100%. But you know what? We're gonna continue it next week.
Okay.
To all the fans out there, you're gonna have to tune in for part 2.
Yes.
With David Rajuili. Yes, man.
The dangerous darky.
Dangerous darky. There it is. Right across on the shirt, right? Right across on the shirt.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you to the fans. I hope you guys enjoyed this talk, and looking forward to part 2. And we'll finish off and we'll wrap you guys up about the fight, who's the opponents, and the rest of my pro career.
Definitely.
And thank you for your time, brother.
Yes,
and thank
definitely.
you to Talking Fight for having me on the show and for doing this. This is big. This platform is amazing.
I love it. So all the fans, thank you for tuning into this special episode of Knuckle Up with yours truly, Mike Orr, and my man, David Rajuili. Remember, part 2 coming soon. We'll see you then. Remember, Knuckle Up.
Lovely, brother. Shot boy. Brother. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow, bro. It's amazing. Are we still on?
Yeah, we're on. We're just about to go. Peace.
Okay. Wow. Shot, brother.